What it do, YouTube? It's your boy there, man. We back in the trap cooking up another banger of knowledge looking at us. Look, uh, I've been listening to a little bit of his videos. What is it called, JUNG? This one is a chapter on how to like find your true identity. So we're gonna dive deep on this and see what this is talking about. We've been trying out different stuff.
Have you ever felt like you are living a life that isn't really yours? As if somehow you are following a script written by someone else, parents, teachers, friends, society, and deep down, something inside you is screaming that something is wrong. You wake up every day, put on the same mask as always, fulfill your obligations, interact with people as if everything is fine. But at some point, when silence finally arrives, that uncomfortable question arises. Who am I really? Carl Jung believed that this feeling of disconnection is not a coincidence. On the contrary, it is a symptom of a deep problem that almost no one has the courage to face. Most people go through their entire lives without ever knowing their true selves. They limit themselves to living.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000?
Tell me if it ain't hidden. Hey, bro, this dude's like a scientist on the human brain, bro.
Because I use Amazon AI. I'm going to show you a way to potentially...
Social roles, manufactured identities, and imposed expectations. The worst part? They believe that this is all there is. They die without ever having known their own soul. And now comes the most important question. Is this happening to you? What you call self may not be you. Your personality, your desires, your beliefs. How much of this is truly yours, and how much was placed there by others? Since childhood, we have been conditioned to fit in, to become acceptable, to hide certain aspects of ourselves in order to be loved. We create a mask, or as Jung called it, a
We have been that I ain't been conditioned for nothing, but look, he said we have been conditioned to fit in, right?
To become acceptable.
To be acceptable, you hide certain shit to blend in with other people's opinions, try to get them to like you and shit. So you don't show your ooh, dominant.
To hide certain aspects of ourselves in order to be loved.
Facts.
We create a mask, or as Jung called it, a persona, a social disguise that we use to protect ourselves. But the more we wear this mask, the further we drift away from our true selves. And one day, this mask becomes all that is left of us. But Jung warned us, living disconnected from who we really are comes at a cost. A cost paid with anguish, dissatisfaction, and a constant feeling that something is missing. Have you ever felt that no matter what you achieve, there is still an emptiness? As if something essential is always out of your reach. This happens because what you truly need is not out there. It is not in a better job, in a perfect relationship, or in the recognition of others. It is within you, buried under layers and layers of conditioning. The big question is, are you willing to dive into your own psyche and discover who you really are? Because this journey is not easy. Finding the true self requires you to confront everything that has been repressed, forgotten, or distorted over the years. It means looking inward and facing parts of yourself.
You know, in some terms, it say if you change the N-word, they say the I-word supposed to change. So the better you feel about yourself, the better your life gonna be. Ain't that crazy? They say if all what's not pills, not therapy, what's inside supposed to heal you, and whatever heal you inside supposed to make the outward. That's what I've been hearing. What's in is showing out. So whatever your inside is showing what your outside is. That makes sense. So whatever you feel about yourself in the inside is why your life is like it get real.
That you might prefer to avoid. But this is also the only way to free yourself. In this video, we will explore the journey that Carl Jung called individuation. The process of becoming whole, of integrating all parts of yourself and finally living according to your true essence. Are you ready for this? Then let's begin.
It's like a roller coaster, like a
Since
movie.
childhood, you learned that to be accepted, you needed to behave in certain ways. Perhaps you were taught to be polite, not to speak too loudly, not to show anger, to please others. Or maybe you learned that you had to be strong all the time, hide your weaknesses, and appear confident even when you were filled with doubts inside. Unbeknownst to you, you began to shape an identity that was not only yours, but a reflection of what the world expected of you. Carl Jung called this mask the persona. It is the face you present to the world,
Facts.
the version of yourself that you constructed to fit in. And don't be fooled, we all have one. If you have ever acted differently at work, at home, with friends, or even on social media, then you have already experienced the power.
Hey, you niggas gotta be your true selves. Y'all be trying to fit in so much, they just said it's killing you. You be trying to put on a persona for the crowd, for the image, for Facebook, for Instagram, for likes and views. But they just staring from who you really is. Like, let's go. Ooh. You can't be afraid to be yourself, y'all.
Of the persona in your life. Is it useful? Yes. Without it, we wouldn't be able to relate socially.
Facts.
But there is a great danger. When you completely identify with this mask, you start to forget who you really are. Think for a moment. How many times have you said or done something just to be accepted?
Facts.
How many times have you hidden?
Facts. Hidden. Niggas be lying about what they do so they can fit in. I've been there, done that. I ain't gonna lie to you.
What you really thought out of fear of judgment. How many times have you caught yourself smiling when inside you wanted to scream?
I mean, I was telling niggas I wasn't a virgin so they wouldn't make fun of me. Right, nigga, I'm still a virgin. You still a virgin yet? If you had to say something so you could fit in. Ooh wee. Ooh.
Who you really are. Think for a moment.
I gotta pay that.
How many times have you said or done something just to be accepted? How many times have you hidden what you really thought out of fear of judgment? How many times have you caught yourself smiling when inside you wanted to scream? This happens because, at some point, the persona stopped being just a role and began to dominate your existence. You are no longer an authentic individual, but a character playing a role that you didn't even consciously choose. And here lies the problem. The persona cannot sustain your soul. It can bring acceptance, but not fulfillment. It can guarantee compliments, but not genuine happiness. In the long run, living solely through the persona leads to an empty life, where you feel that something essential is missing, but you can't identify what it is. And worse still, the more you cling to this mask, the further you drift from your true essence. But if the persona is not your true self, then who are you really? To answer this question, we need to look at the other side of the coin, at the part of you that has been repressed and pushed into the unconscious. Jung called this the shadow, and this is where the true quest for your true self begins. But be careful. What is hidden in the shadow is not always easy to face. Are you ready to discover? Then, continue with me. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel.
I'm starting to like
Thank
videos
you for
like
your
this.
support.
Now I understand y'all people that be watching Criminal Minds and shit, you feel me? This shit starting to look good now, I ain't gonna lie. I can see how people with the soap operas be. Hey, this shit start getting...
If the persona is the mask you wear to be accepted, then the shadow is everything you hide to avoid being rejected. But here's the problem. What you repress doesn't disappear. On the contrary, it gains strength in your unconscious, operating in the shadows of your mind, influencing your emotions, your fears, and even the choices you make in life without you realizing it. Carl Jung described the shadow as the hidden side of the psyche.
All right, check this out. I just dragged a task into a project, and this new AI tool built my entire week.
Bro.
It's scheduled
You
deadlines,
don't be
filled my
thinking about
calendar,
this, but it
and
be
I
common
think
sense when this man came out.
Composed of everything that has been repressed throughout life. Prohibited desires, contained anger, weaknesses you don't want to admit, traumas you tried to forget. And you know what's worse? Many of the things in your shadow aren't even bad. They are just parts of you that, at some point, someone said were unacceptable.
That ain't like it.
Perhaps, as a child, you showed too much curiosity, but were called inconvenient and learned to stay quiet. Maybe you felt the urge to express anger, but were taught that it was wrong.
Damn, I gotta start telling my son to be quiet. Hey, that's what we be doing? Damn.
And now, you swallow
Facts.
your frustrations until they explode. Perhaps you showed sensitivity, but society convinced you it was weakness.
Facts.
So you learned to hide your feelings. All of this, all the parts of you that were denied, did not disappear. They just hid in your shadow, waiting for the moment to emerge. And they do emerge. If you've ever had an outburst of anger and then regretted it, felt envy towards someone and tried to deny it to yourself, or reacted excessively to criticism without understanding why, then you have experienced your shadow taking control.
Ooh, hey, bro, when you get to learn about the human brain, this shit make you sick. You be like, I didn't see this, I didn't peep this, I didn't. So it's not when people be like, they demons, it's your shadow work. So whatever you've been hiding from the world, that's what's creeping up on you.
When we don't consciously deal with it, it manifests in distorted ways, sabotaging our relationships, our careers, our self-esteem. But here's the truth that no one tells you. Your shadow is not your enemy. On the contrary, it is where many of the most valuable aspects of your personality lie: your creativity, your authenticity, your true strength. You cannot be whole until you integrate this part of yourself. And to do that, you need to stop running away and start looking inward. But how do you face something that has been repressed for so
We said at the same time, nigga, how do I do that, bro? How do we know? Shit, we don't know.
long? How do you bring your shadow into the light without letting it consume you? The answer lies in a central concept of Jungian psychology.
Jungian.
The self, or the true self. And that is exactly what we are going to explore now. If the persona is the mask and the shadow is everything you have repressed, then the self, the true self, is what exists beyond these layers. It is the totality of your psyche, the harmonious fusion between who you truly are and who you show to the world. Jung believed that the purpose of life was not simply to follow a path predefined by society, but rather to become whole, to discover your true essence, and to live according to it. This process of self-discovery and integration is what he called individuation. But finding the self is not something that happens by chance. It is not something that simply appears one day in front of you like a magical epiphany. The self does not reveal itself to those who are not willing to face the truth about themselves. You need to actively seek it out, and this quest requires a deep journey within yourself. It is a confrontation with everything you have been taught to hide, a reconciliation between your most authentic desires and the restrictions imposed by the outside world. The greatest obstacle to finding the true self is fear. Fear of losing the identity you have built over the years. Fear of realizing that many of your choices were not truly yours. Fear of facing aspects of your personality that you have denied for so long. This fear causes many people to never find the self. They spend their entire lives clinging to the persona, pretending to be something they are not, while their shadow operates behind the scenes, sabotaging their chances of genuine happiness. But when you begin to integrate your shadow and question the masks you wear, something incredible happens. You start to feel a kind of freedom you have never experienced before. You discover that you no longer need to pretend to be someone you are not. You realize that you no longer need to please everyone.
Facts.
You begin to act more authentically, to make decisions that make sense to you, and not just to meet the expectations of others. And the most interesting part? The closer you get to yourself, the more life begins to make sense. The anxieties and
That's crazy. When you stop trying to please people and do stuff how you want to be, how stuff want to be done, you on purpose.
frustrations that once seemed inexplicable begin to have a clear root. You understand why certain patterns repeat, why certain situations affect you so much, why certain relationships never worked out. You start to realize that throughout your life, there was something inside you trying to show you the way. But you were too busy trying to fit in to listen.
Facts.
But there is an important detail. The path to finding the self cannot be walked in isolation. There is a fundamental element in this journey that many ignore: the unconscious and the archetypes that shape the way we think, feel, and behave. If you do not understand these hidden forces, you will never be able to fully comprehend who you are. And that is what we will explore next. The human mind is not just what we see and consciously understand. Most of our psyche is hidden, operating at a deep and invisible level. Jung believed that to find the true self, it is not enough to look at our rational thoughts and daily decisions. We must dive into the depths of the unconscious, for it is there that the hidden patterns that shape our identity are found. But what exactly is in this unconscious? Beyond your shadow, beyond repressed memories and unrecognized desires, there is something even more fundamental: archetypes. Jung discovered that the human psyche is not a blank slate. On the contrary, we are born with universal mental structures, patterns of thought, behavior, and emotion that are shared by all people, regardless of culture or time. He called this the collective unconscious. And it is from this collective unconscious that archetypes emerge, primordial images that influence the way we perceive the world and ourselves. If you have ever felt an inexplicable attraction to certain stories, myths, or symbols, it is because archetypes are acting within you. They appear in fairy tales, movies, religions, and, most importantly, in your own dreams and behaviors. For example, the hero is an archetype present in virtually all cultures. It represents one who faces challenges, overcomes obstacles, and seeks transformation. But there is also the wise one, who symbolizes knowledge and introspection. The rebel, who challenges the rules and questions the system, and the caregiver, who lives to protect and serve others. And the most interesting part? You do not choose which archetypes influence your life. They operate within you without your awareness. The problem arises when you identify only with one archetype and ignore the others. If you only see yourself as the hero, you may end up feeling pressured to always be strong, unable to accept weaknesses or vulnerabilities. If you live solely in the role of the caregiver, you may spend your life putting others' needs above your own, forgetting about yourself.
When we touch here, maybe just try this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that feels nice. Yeah,
they hit
that's good.
every time, I think.
Finding the true self means balancing these archetypes, recognizing which ones dominate your life, and integrating those that have been neglected. But how do these archetypes appear in your life? The answer lies in your dreams, your impulses, the patterns that repeat without you understanding why. And if you ignore them, you will be ignoring essential parts of yourself. That is why so many people feel lost, They do not understand that there are invisible forces shaping their desires, their decisions, and even their existential crises. But here is the most important question. If you do not become aware of these archetypes, they control you. They determine your behaviors, your insecurities, your relationships. But if you recognize and integrate them, you take control of your own narrative. And that is precisely what differentiates those who find their true self from those who spend their entire lives trapped in automatic patterns. But what if you ignore all of this? What happens to someone who refuses to look at the unconscious, who resists individuation and continues to live according to masks and illusions? The answer lies in the psychological suffering that accompanies those who flee from themselves. And that is the danger of non-individuation, which we will explore now. What happens to someone who spends their life running away from themselves? Who ignores their own shadow, lives imprisoned in a persona, and refuses to acknowledge the archetypes that shape their destiny? Carl Jung was clear. Avoiding the process of individuation does not keep us safe. Instead, it condemns us to a fragmented existence, filled with anxiety, frustration, and an emptiness that can never be filled by anything external. Many people believe that following society's rules and fitting into what is expected of them will guarantee a peaceful life. But this tranquility is merely superficial. At some point, something begins to go wrong. It may manifest as emotional crises with no apparent explanation, feelings of dissatisfaction even when everything seems perfect, or the emergence of psychosomatic illnesses. The body and mind always find ways to alert us when we are straying too far from our true nature.
They do?
Non-individuation can also manifest through destructive patterns. Have you ever noticed how some people repeat the same mistakes throughout their lives? How they enter abusive relationships, sabotage their own achievements, or live in a constant state of dissatisfaction?
Why?
This happens because when we do not deal with what is hidden within us, we become prisoners of our own unconscious. It finds ways to express itself, even if it is through suffering. Another common symptom of non-individuation is the feeling that we are merely existing, but not truly living. This manifests in a monotonous routine, in a life without purpose, in a sense that we are just going with the flow, without a clear direction.
I get there right there.
This is the reality for millions of people who have never questioned whether the life they lead is truly the life they chose. They follow inherited patterns, imposed beliefs, and external expectations without ever stopping to ask, does this really make me happy?
That's true.
And the most dangerous of all, resentment. When a person ignores who they really are, they inevitably feel anger, but they do not always know where that anger comes from. They may turn against others, blaming the world, the system, their family, or society for their suffering. Or they may turn inward, transforming into depression, self-sabotage, and a deep disconnection.
That's what depression is. So we just solved depression. That's why I don't believe in it, bro. This video be making so much sense. It break down the brain, bro.
From their own existence. But there's a way out. There's a way to break this cycle and free oneself from this invisible prison. The answer lies in the courage to face the truth, to question one's own illusions, and to seek individuation. This process is not easy. It requires strength, determination, and the willingness to look within, even when what we find is not pleasant. And now we come to the crucial point. What does it mean, in practice, to be yourself? What is it like to live without masks, without repression, without fear of external judgment? What happens when you truly find your true self? Let's explore this in our conclusion. Finding your true self is not a destination, but a process. It is not something that happens overnight, as if one day you simply wake up and know exactly who you are. It is a journey that lasts a lifetime, a path of discoveries, deconstruction, and reconstruction, facing the shadows and freeing yourself from the masks that have been imposed on us. And it is a path that few choose to walk. Most people prefer the safety of conformity. They cling to their personas because they believe that without them, they would be rejected. They avoid looking at their shadows because they fear what they will find there. They ignore the archetypes that guide their lives because they do not want to admit that they are not in control as much as they would like. But this fear comes at a cost. An empty existence, lacking authenticity, depth, and real meaning. Jung showed us that true freedom lies not in fitting in, but in becoming who we really are. This means accepting your wholeness, both your qualities and your flaws, both your light and your darkness. It means taking control of your own life.
So basically, what you think motherfuckers might be, wow, that's weird, you gotta show that too, because it's gonna balance you out, bro. You hiding all your darkness and shit, you just bottling that up. It's like yin and yang. You can't just show what's good, you gotta show the bad side too. So I'm getting that too.
Life, rather than being just a product of your environment, culture, and others' expectations. It means abandoning the role of puppet and becoming the author of your own story. But this path requires courage. Courage to let go of the illusions that have been comfortable for so long. Courage to face your own fears and insecurities. Courage to accept that you may not be who you thought you were, and that's okay, because now you have the opportunity to become someone much greater, much more authentic, much more alive. So I ask you, are you ready for this challenge? Are you willing to question the stories you've been told about who you are?
I do every day, shit.
To confront the parts of yourself that have been repressed? To finally live according to your true essence? If something in this video made you reflect, let me know in the comments. What part impacted you the most? Have you ever felt like you were living an identity that wasn't really yours? Let's talk about it. And don't stop here. The next video is essential to deepen this journey and understand even more about the hidden mechanisms that shape your mind. So keep watching, because this discovery is just beginning.
That shit sound hard, bro. That one sound, oh, I be loving these videos, bro. That's how they gonna lead us off. Hey, basically face yourself, man. You gotta change your inward so your outward can change, man. And that's what I'm learning. I didn't know that either. But man, you wanna learn about yourself or people? Call JUNG, bro. Eat every time, bro. And let me know what I gotta do too. I be taking notes on this stuff. But look, hit that like button, comment down below, 3 stripes to the family. If you got anything like that, if you like these videos, please let me know, because this is something new. I'm different. This is a whole different lane. But I'm enjoying watching it. Shit, just my Netflix. If y'all like it, let me know. Send some videos just like this.